In today's episode, we'll be interviewing Kaden Forsha, Drew Nestor, and in Drew's interview, we'll also be discussing the future of ANW and the sustainability of the sport if the show was to go down.
All right, welcome everybody to the third episode of the Ninja Podcast. Today we're here to interview Kaden Forsha. He competed on ANW Junior and is also one of the top rising ninjas. Hey, Kaden.
Hey, Thomas. Thanks for having me here. I'm really excited to be on this podcast with you.
I am too. The first question that I have is, where did the Chatterbox Ninja nickname come from?
So I love to talk, so we needed something with me talking, and I also love to do public speeches. I've done a TED Talk to spread the awareness of ADHD and dyslexia and how I use them as a superpower to propel me towards my obstacles, to help me complete my obstacles. And so we were over at our friend's house. So our friends were over at our house. Lila, you might know her. Her nickname's the Tie-Dye Ninja. And her dad was over with us too. And he comes up and he says, "Kaden, you're a chatterbox." So we're like, wow, that's a great nickname. So that's how I got my nickname, the Chatterbox Ninja.
For anybody confused on who Kaden is referring to, if you've seen Lila the Tie-Dye Ninja, those are like the viral videos that got like 20 million views like a couple years ago on YouTube. So like that's the person that you're thinking of when he's referring to that. But yeah, like that makes sense. And now I'm kind of jealous that like I didn't think of that because I love to talk too. I mean, look at me. I'm here doing a podcast. Like I literally have a job to talk.
Yeah, I want one of those jobs. It sounds like a fun job, and you're great at it, I think.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. So I know you've been on American Ninja Warrior Junior. What was the kind of experience competing on there? And did anything really kind of change after your episode aired?
So competing on American Ninja Warrior Junior was an experience of a lifetime. I loved it so much. It was super fun. I really enjoyed it. And I really don't think anything changed from when I did it to the episode, besides for they kind of ran us out of order. If you want like some behind the scenes, they wouldn't they'd give us a little break, run some other people, and then run us again. Whereas in the episode, you only see like 4 people go, even though they run us and then they give us a little break. So that's kind of some behind the scenes stuff. But really, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I met a lot of people, and it's really fun.
Just out of curiosity, have you gone to any AEW tapings? And if you have, what's the experience while being there, and how is it similar to, and how is it different than the AEW Junior experience?
I think the tapings are a little different because they edit out a lot of the stuff. Like, you're standing at the starting line for a while, but they'll edit that out so that you don't have to watch them stand there. It's really a long, slow process, but it's still a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed being there. It was a lot of fun. And just to know that I made it on out of so many submissions, it was just a great experience.
Next question is, who would you say is your closest ninja friend?
So my really close ninja friend, he doesn't live by us in Colorado, but so I don't get to see him too often. But his name is Dylan Yee. He's the Happy Ninja from season 3 of American Ninja Warrior Junior. And we hang out together so well. We're such good friends, and I really enjoy hanging out with him. We'll walk down the street with each other and have fun, or we'll eat and have fun. It doesn't really matter. We hang out with them whenever we see them. I really like to train with Jaleesa. She's the Chef Ninja from American Ninja Warrior Junior Season 1. She's super fun to train with and a really good athlete. I want to give a shout out to Owen Pham. He's been on at least 2 seasons of American Ninja Warrior Junior, and he's super fun to hang out with and a very good competitor.
Would you say that all of those ninjas sort of push you to be better and like try and unlock that next step in you?
Jaleesa, yeah, because I train with her a lot. But Owen and Dylan both kind of live out of state. I've been doing a little bit of training with Owen. I've trained a little bit with Owen, but not really any with Dylan. So, but Owen, yeah, he pushes me and I push him. It's super fun. It's really fun relationship with all three of them.
Going back to what I said, going off of that, who would you say is the toughest competitor you've competed against?
Charlie Ball. He is very fast, very good. He's been on at least 2 seasons of American Ninja Warrior, and he's really he's strong and he knows how to put obstacles together. So he's really good.
In terms of like where you would say Charlie stacks up in terms of the ninjas like in his age group, um, where would you say that he is like relative to you and to like everybody else?
It depends on what we're training. He's from out of state, so I haven't really seen him train, but at competitions, he really does shine, unless he makes a stupid mistake, which happens to all of us sometimes. So he's really good, and I can't really rank him, I don't think, because I haven't trained with him enough.
Going back to competitions, in the event that you were selected to compete on American Ninja Warrior 15, barring of course age rules, how do you think you would do?
I think I could make it at least to see stage one in Las Vegas. It depends on the region who I have to compete against and how hard the course is, of course, and if I make a stupid mistake. But I might be able to make it to stage two. Some of the obstacles I'm worried about is the small run up on the warped wall on stage one and the second to last obstacle. But otherwise, I think I could maybe make it to stage two.
Do you feel like your age and your height would sort of play a disadvantage to you there, since you wouldn't really have the wingspan that some of the older ninjas have?
Yeah, I was at first worried about the spider wall, jumping spider, but then I read my Ninja Warrior book and saw Casey was 5 foot and could do it, and I'm already 5'4", so I think I might, I think I could do that. Um, and so I think I have a shot. The warped wall I am a little bit worried about, but I still think I could do it.
That's awesome. Well, kind of going off of the competition subject, other than American Ninja Warrior Junior, what has been your favorite competition you've been to?
I really do like the national competitions. I can't really choose one. Bucket's fun, but I really like nationals because you get to uh, meet new people, get new friends. I really did like the Ninja Warrior because I met a lot of new friends. But I think that's why I really like nationals, and they work super hard on the course to make it good.
Coming from my experience competing on nationals, the only one that I've competed on so far is UNAA. This year, I'm hoping that I can be able to get to Worlds, but it's going to be tough because I'm going to be competing in Elite and I'm competing in Northeast. So, yeah. But based on my one experience of UNAA Worlds, I would say it was a very fun experience. Obviously, UNAA is sort of like the second leap behind WNO, but I still think that like at Worlds they did a pretty good job, contrary to like what everybody's saying about the mats. Like I thought that it was fine.
Yeah, I thought it was fine too. I really did enjoy all the UNAAs and NNLs. Yeah, I really did enjoy them.
My next question is, what's your main focus outside of Ninja?
So I have like three different main focuses. And my first one's school because I really want a good job when I grow up. I want to be a sales engineer and then go into Congress. And I'm really, my second one is I enjoy rock climbing a lot. It helps with grip strength and it helps with my endurance on the ninja course. And it's just super fun. My third one is public speaking. I focus on that because I want to spread the word about dyslexia and ADHD and how I use it to my advantage and how I think of it as a superpower.
Or you could just do all of those and become a rock climbing, public speaking politician. Boom.
I like
Easy.
that plan. I
Just
do.
do all of those. But
Yeah,
yeah, those are some pretty cool dreams to like have those as your job. Like, I feel like it's good to have that sense of not necessarily knowing what you want to do, but having like a rough sketch or a rough idea of like what you've got planned. Like, if I was going to choose what I wanted to do for my job, I would probably pick something that, like, I like doing and not necessarily like well paying. Like, I would pick a job that, like, would pay the bills and that sort of thing. But from my perspective, like, doing a job is like more so about like if I enjoy it and like does it really make me feel happy to like the point where like I actively want to work. And I feel like the stuff that you're pursuing, like, I feel like it lends itself nicely to that, especially on the public speaking side.
yeah. The reason why I want to be work in the Capitol is because I've gone to the Capitol, the Colorado State Capitol, 3 times to speak in favor of dyslexia bill, in favor of a dyslexia bill. So that's why I want to work in the Capitol so badly.
Speaking of the Capitol, assuming that American Ninja Warrior ever decides to go back to DC, because for those of you who don't remember, before COVID-19, Season 12 had 3 cities that they were planning to go to, not the normal 6, because the Olympics were supposed to be that year. One of the cities was Washington, D.C. Now, of course, due to COVID, those got canceled, but hopefully for me, I hope they come back. So, in the event that American Ninja Warrior ever goes to DC, would you try and make that trek out just so that you could maybe see the president if he decided to take 0.1% of his time to come out to American Ninja Warrior?
I think I would. I really do. It sounds fun to meet the president, and I'd want to learn about how the job works and how maybe going into the Capitol works. And I have a friend, Max Celebrum. He won season 3, and he wants to become the president. So I could give him some information too.
You give him some heads up to sort of give him like the rundown on what he needs to do.
Yep. Yeah.
My next question is, what's the lowest ninja moment that you've had in your career?
I think the lowest ninja moment is when I fell on stage on season 3, and I hit my head on the bottom of the pool. I fell and hit my head on the bottom of the pool because I was trying to speed lachey the second to last obstacle. I forgot what it's called, but I was up against Charlie Ball, and he's super fast, like I said, so he was really pushing me. We were neck and neck. If I made that speed lachey, I might have been able to win, so that's why I went for it. And I just couldn't pull it off. And instead of getting to do my second run, I had to go to the hospital to get my head checked out. So that stunk. But I was okay, so that was good.
Well, you might be glad that you weren't at UNA finals if you had done that.
Yeah.
Just saying. They say that the mats were fine this year. I tend to agree with that, but at the same time, it's still a little worrying when if you fall off the tire obstacle, you're going to fall directly onto concrete. So, I'm glad that Ninja is like as a sport is trying to become more safe. But I do feel like in those types of scenarios, not just in UNA, but then just overall in general, I feel like there's steps that we can do just to make sure that like we don't see injuries in the sport. It's like when Travis Rosen injured his ankle. Like that was a freak accident, but to be fair, it was also like a fall from like a very high area. So I feel like there should be some precautions made because ninja is like a very athletic sport, and what comes along with that is there's like a high risk for injury. So I feel like they should just have that developed as a precaution.
Yeah, I think that UNAA was at least a big improvement, if not really good. And it was run by a bunch of different gyms, which I really liked how the gyms got to choose what the course was. And I think a lot of those gyms had great padding.
Going on to gyms, is there one specific obstacle you think is most important to train?
I don't have a specific obstacle that is really important to train because ninja's just such like it just uses your whole body, and the competitions are so unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. So you want to train all the different obstacles that you think is going to be on the competition. And I think training all the obstacles is important to being successful on American Ninja Warrior and just like local competitions.
At the same time, I could also make a case that like training for everything is it's sort of a luck of the draw. Like for example, before I was competing at UNA regionals for Nova Ninja because I'm in the DMV area, what I did was I was just training the salmon ladder because my coach had just like placed it in every single qualifier beforehand. But on this specific one, she chose not to. And I was like, okay, well, I just kind of wasted all that time. That kind of sucks. Yeah, like that sort of that happens like every once in a while.
Yeah,
There's
that's why I like to train all the different things. Even if I can predict what's going to be on, I train that most, but I still train other stuff. Like, I'm not just going to focus on a single course that I think is going to be on the competition. I'm going to focus on a bunch of different obstacles, even if I'm not positive they're going to be on at the competition. Because even if it's not going to be at that competition, you're training for the next competition, and you're still getting stronger with like the technique of different obstacles.
right, that makes sense. Personally, for me, like I said before, I train the salmon ladder a lot. I don't know if that makes me good at it, but I just find that like just training any obstacle just helps me overall generally with like my strength and my conditioning. So I feel like even if the obstacle doesn't appear, like I sort of get unlucky with what it is, I feel like the skills that you develop, they do translate like well enough for most people to like if you saw an obstacle that was sort of similar to like something that you had trained on, you would probably be able to adapt to it. But it to a certain extent, like I said before, it is the luck of the draw, but you do have an advantage on your side because you have been training just in general, so you've got like that strength built up.
And with salmon ladder, it works so many different of your muscles, and it works a lot of technique, pulling back the bar, slamming it back in. It works technique. You have to know when to pull it out and when to slam it back in, and it's just and it works like core with the kipping, pull with your pulling, powerful. So yeah, salmon ladder is a good one to work a lot because it works a bunch of different stuff.
Going on in power, it feels so good when you skip a rung. It just makes you feel so dominant. Makes you feel like you're on top of the world. Like I don't know if you feel that, but like if you do, then you'll know exactly how it feels like when you like start skipping rungs and stuff.
Yeah, it's really amazing to skip a rung. I enjoy the feeling. I just enjoy the feeling of doing something new on Salmon Ladder and just being, or any obstacle really, just working it for a long time and then just finally getting it. It feels incredible.
And to a certain extent, that marks sort of what I'm saying. It almost makes it feel like it's a bit of a journey, and like you're enjoying the journey more than like the destination. Like obviously, you enjoy the destination, but to a certain extent, like it's the journey, it's the hard work that makes you live for ninja. Like from my perspective, I've only gotten like a 12-foot lache a couple times, but it's just like the process that I enjoy so much. It's just working at it and trying to get better. And I feel like it's the same for most ninjas, where like they have the desire to just be the best that they can be. Not of course, like they want to be the best, but at the same time, like they also take pride in like their development as well.
Yeah, ninja, it's not just like that one obstacle and finally working it and working it and finally getting it. That's a journey. Ninja's a journey. I used to really struggle with nerves, but then I learned a few tricks and now I use my nerves to my advantage if I even have them. Sometimes I don't even have nerves before a competition. So all a ninja's a journey. Life and ninja kind of play a role in each other. If you can be good at some aspects in ninja, you'll be good at some aspects in life. I think all of it's just a journey.
I would agree. Going back to the journey and also going back to what I said beforehand about your lowest point in Ninja, what would you say was your highest point?
I definitely think my highest point in ninja was getting the call to the show on season 1 of American Ninja Warrior Junior. It was the first time I ever cried from happiness. I was so happy to get that call because so many kids tried out. So when I got that call, I was so happy.
I would agree. The year that I was supposed to apply when I was 15, that was the year that COVID hit, so that kind of screwed me over. But hey, might still have a chance to compete on American Ninja Warrior one day, and hopefully you might too.
I really hope so too. I'm sure you'll have a chance. From what I've seen, you're really good. And I think I have a chance, and I think you have a chance too. I think Ninja's just going to keep on growing. More people are just going to get into the sport, which means there will be more shows like American Ninja Warrior for us to all get on. And I think it'll be a fun journey for Ninja and just everybody who does it.
Yeah, I would agree. Going into what I said about the desire to like improve, going back to desire, why did you get into Ninja in the first place?
I got into Ninja because when I was 3, I saw the show of American Ninja Warrior, right? And it looked so fun, and I started jumping down the stairs and running around, and we had like these little mats, so I jumped from mat to mat, and I'd pretend to be on like American Ninja Warrior. And then I discovered that Ninja can help me burn my extra ADHD energy in a positive way so I can focus better in school. And my dyslexia helps me see the course in a different way. And sometimes there's just not a good way to do a certain obstacle, but then I find a good way to do it because nobody else can find it, but I see the world in a different way and I see the course in a different way. So sometimes that helps me towards the course.
So, in an ironic sort of way, what could normally be perceived by some people as like an impediment in like your life, you've used it to an advantage to sort of almost surpass like what people would have normally thought you could have become.
Yeah, I really do agree. And I think of my dyslexia and ADHD as a superpower. It helps me among life, and it's really good.
That's awesome. Well, our final question for this podcast is, who do you think is your ninja idol? Like, who in ninja do you think you look up to the most?
I really do have to say, like, 3 different people. One is Lauren Ball. He's been my coach. He was one of my first coaches, and he's fun to watch, and he's super good, and he's really fun to out with. I also like Kaden Lebsack. He's super good, and he's my coach, and so he's taught me a lot of stuff about ninja and how to do certain obstacles. I also love Thomas Stillings. We've been friends for a little while now, and I really like to be around him. He's super fun to be around, and he's a really, really good ninja.
Well, thanks for coming out, man. That's all we've got for this interview.
Thank you so much. That was super fun. Thanks for having me again, and thank you.
Thanks again for coming.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Squire Squad, a budding rapper in the DMV area. Check him out as Instagram, which is at Squire_Squad.
All right, I'm here with Drew Nestor, the Ninja Medic, who competed on season 14 of American Ninja Warrior. Hey, Drew, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm doing all right. You mind if we begin?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so my first question for you is, what inspired you to become a medic?
So, for being a medic, one thing that I've always, this might sound like cliche, but I've always liked putting other people before myself. I've always liked helping other people before helping myself. And it's like, I always would ask myself, I'm like, what if I was ever in a situation where it's like someone like seriously needed my help? And I figured I already wanted to go into the National Guard. So I figured that this would be a good path for me so I can learn how to, help someone if they ever got hurt, and stuff like that. And I think it just gave me a lot of good baseline knowledge on a lot of different stuff.
Would you say that it also helped you morally in terms of like having a good moral compass to like sort of have something to ground yourself in, like knowing that your job is to help people?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, um, it's always been something that I've liked to do. I've always been like just trying to help someone in any way I can, and I think morally it does help because I would feel so bad if I was anywhere, if I was on the side of the road at the ninja gym anywhere, and someone got hurt and I just couldn't help them in any way. So I figured it'd be a good training for me. Um, it was a lot of fun, but it was a tough training, but it was good.
How would you say that any of it is translated to ninja?
Um, a lot of it is staying calm under pressure. Um, as a medic, if someone is injured seriously, or even not seriously, and um, you can't operate under pressure, then you are not going to be a successful medic. Same thing in ninja. If you're super good in your training, but then when the actual moment's there and you can't operate, then you're not going to be successful in competitions for sure.
So it's more so on the nerve side and not with anything like in terms of like tangible qualities. It's more like on the mental side of things.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if there's any like actual physical comparison of being a medic and being a ninja. It's pretty different.
Yeah, I looking at it, I don't really think that there's like anything tangible that you can draw off of that can like specifically help with ninja other than the mental aspect of it, which I think really does help. I mean,
Oh,
like
absolutely.
I'm not like on a medical side of things, so I don't really get that part of it. But I do get like the basic mental gist of it, which is like focusing on how you steel your nerves and almost like how you approach a competition with like the best mindset as well. Like I feel like that also forms it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're doing a competition and you don't trust your skills, you don't trust your skill set, um, then you're not going to compete at your best. It's the same thing in medical training. Like if you're training your medical skills and you're really good at them, but the second you're actually doing those skills, you freeze up or you second guess yourself, that patient's not going to get the proper care that they need or the best care that you could provide them.
So would you say in both scenarios it's not just about managing the pressure, but also about maintaining like a certain level of confidence in, hey, I'm going to be able to do this both with ninja and also in the medical field?
Absolutely. I mean, as a ninja, you have to be confident, um, but you also have to have respect for the obstacles. I mean, so you have to look at a course and say, hey, I can clear all these obstacles. I am capable, but you have to have enough respect for the obstacles to say, but if I'm not careful, if I don't do it correctly, it's going to take me out. It's going to eat up my time or yada, yada, yada. Same thing in the medical field where it's like, hey, I'm confident enough to do what I've been trained to do, but if I don't do it properly, the patient might not receive the proper care.
So it's almost like a fine line, I guess, like
Absolutely.
between pressure
confidence and then arrogance. Like,
Yeah,
it's almost figuring out that like fine line in which you can operate and be able to go in thinking that you can do it, but not almost thinking that you will do it. Like, it's keeping that sense of realism.
absolutely.
Going back into the medical sort of thing, what would you say is the coolest thing that you've learned?
Um, that's a tough one. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I've learned is just battlefield trauma. Being a combat medic in the army, um, so the first thing that you do is you get your EMT license, but our main focus is battlefield trauma because that's what I'm technically trained to do. So a lot of it is like massive bleeding and stuff like that. That's the main gist of it, to be honest. But one of the coolest things that I probably say I've learned is probably just like how to give IVs, because that's something that like a lot of like higher level people like your doctors and stuff they aren't as good at as like some of the lower level people like your paramedics or your nurses and stuff like that. So that was definitely a fun skill to learn, but it was also not a lot of fun because we would have to practice IVs on each other and no one knew what they were doing when we first started.
What would you say was like the funniest incident specifically with that, like with somebody messing up?
So there was this was bad. There was one time this this person was giving their buddy an IV in training, and basically what happened is they messed up their IV so bad that they forced their buddy's vein to burst, and
Oh
they
my.
they basically started like bleeding within their own arm. I'm not going to say it was like severe internal bleeding because it wasn't, but they were like bleeding within their own arm. So they just had to stop the bleeding and call it a day. But that was I don't it was funny, but I also really felt bad for the person because I'm like, wow, what a great friend.
At least it makes for a good story.
Yeah. So that was kind of funny.
Getting into things that are funny. Who would you say is your favorite training buddy that like just keeps you loose and like is able to like make jokes and just help you stay chill with Ninja?
So a lot of the people I train with here in South Dakota, a lot of these guys like haven't been on the show, haven't really competed at some of these big comps. But my primary training partners have been Jack Montgomery, who's he's like 16, and he's a kid that I've been training with, and he's kind of a goofy person. I'm sure he'll listen to this live stream and be like, "Wow, thanks for calling me out." And then I also train with Josh Miller, um, and that guy's absolutely crazy. That guy can do like 15 one-arm pull-ups.
15 more than I can do.
Yeah, about 10 more than I can do. So,
The fact that you can do one is like impressive. For those of you who have never tried a one-armed pull-up, it's like insanely hard to do.
oh yeah. So sometimes when I'm at class, because I work as a full-time ninja coach, and I'll be teaching a class or whatever, and I'll just jump up, do a one-arm pull-up just for fun. Some kid will watch me and be like, "Oh, that looked pretty easy. Let me try." I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, go ahead." Can't even move. It's brutally hard until you can at least hold a lock off or do one, then you can kind of start getting good at them.
Yeah. Something like that actually happened to me, but it wasn't with a one-armed pull-up. I had like a party a couple weeks ago for Ninja, and one of my friends specifically was like talking a bunch of trash about how he'd be able to do the salmon ladder first try, and he didn't even end up showing up. Everybody else who did, none of them were able to even get it in like 15 minutes at all.
Yeah.
So it's like Ninja can be very, very humbling to those who don't know about it, which, in all honesty, just kind of makes it more cool to know that like you can be able to do those things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got guys that come into the gym that I work at all the time, and they just want to start trying some of the harder, more advanced obstacles that they see on TV or whatever, and they think, "Oh, I'll be able to do this," and it humbles them because they don't realize how much work you have to put in to be able to do the salmon ladder or even the warped wall.
Right,
Um,
because like to be able to do the salmon ladder, first you need to be able to like learn how to do pull-ups and then like explosive pull-ups, and it's like I feel almost like it's sort of like a skill tree where like you're starting with the basics and the working your way up. And then
Yeah.
most of the people that are casual fans that aren't really into it and they just like come to the gym and think, oh, that's pretty easy. I can be able to do that. Like, I feel like the nuance of like how much work that actually takes to like master those skills gets lost in translation because people just like think what they're seeing on TV is like a lot easier than what it actually is, which sometimes I found myself doing that. Like, I thought that it was going to be easy for me to do the salmon ladder, and it took me like 6 months to learn how to do it.
Right. It's something because you see it on TV and like the kind of the thing about TV is people always assume there's some kind of fake element to it. And I'm not saying in Ninja Warrior there isn't some behind the scenes stuff that goes on. I'm sure there is. I don't know everything, but I'm sure there's some stuff that goes on, and that's TV to make a good show, and I understand why they have to do that. But at the same time, it's like when you're watching a run on American Ninja Warrior, that is real. Like that is an athlete running a Ninja Warrior course. There's no fake element to the actual course runs.
Right. I'd say that like the only fake sort of things that I've noticed in terms of like actual ninja is mostly sort of things that like have gotten into the ninja lore. So for most people who don't know, season 4 stage 2, there was not actually supposed to be a stage 3 because the one guy that made it to the end of the stage, which was Brent Stephenson,
He timed out.
he timed out.
Yeah.
But yet, apparently, in this dream, he makes it with 3/100ths of a second.
Exactly. And it's stuff like
It's a
that.
little bit cheesy.
Yeah. And it's stuff like that where it's like, um, you know, regardless of what crazy stuff Brent is posting today, I mean,
Oh, God.
that guy was, and probably still is, a crazy strong athlete. And um, he was very talented, and everything that he did on the course was still real, but he definitely did time out. But then on stage 3, I mean, he still everything that you saw from him athletically was all real.
Yeah.
And that goes for anyone, not just him. I I guess that's the only real positive thing I can say about him is he was a good athlete because I don't necessarily agree with everything that he's posting today. It's kind of ridiculous.
Me neither. In terms of, like, ancient ANW conspiracy theories, we don't even need to get started on what happened in USA versus the world.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that Japan should have contended more. Like, the crowd cuts? Come on. You're adding 40 seconds. Like, in between shots of the crowd.
Yeah.
To provide a little bit of backstory for the viewers of what I just said, to provide a little bit of backstory for the viewers, USA vs. the World was like this like international competition where people from the USA would compete against like international people, and like I distinctly remember thinking, oh my gosh, Team Japan is gonna like they might not win stage 1 and 2 because they're like super short, but they were the first people to figure out how to beat the ultimate cliffhanger. Like they
Yeah.
figured that out way before us.
Oh yeah.
So it's like they're gonna dominate stage 3, and then I just like look at the clock and like that feels a little fishy. And then like a couple years later, like I'm looking at like some blog post, and it's like talking about how yeah the rules were a little fudged up to like send the Japanese home. So it's like this sort of stuff does happen in television, and it's not like ANW's immune to it.
Oh, 100%. But I feel like with A&W, at least all of the TV sort of stuff happens in the editing and not with the competitors on the course.
Yeah, I mean it's better than like some other TV shows. I mean like
Yeah.
it feels like there's less trickery going on with the actual stuff that goes on, and more so like miscellaneous details.
Yeah.
Getting on to like miscellaneous details, what would you say was the most different thing about getting to compete on the actual show, getting to go to Vegas versus just competing in like your standard leagues?
The pressure is just way more. I mean, it felt really crazy. I mean, you watch American Ninja Warrior for so many years, and then you're on the set, and you're like, oh my goodness, like I am competing on this show. I mean, the for me the show is way different than any competition because it's like at a league competition, it's like, okay, I usually look at the people who sign up. I'm like, okay, I got to beat this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and whatever. When you go to the show, it's like, yo, just hit the buzzer.
It's a lot less mono a mono when it
Yeah,
comes to like the actual ninja competition because it's like you're more focused on like winning the actual thing than like getting like the fastest time.
yeah. And a lot of the local ninja leagues, your UNAAs or whatever, you just kind of go there, have fun, compete against some of your friends and stuff like that. But
And
when
like
you go to the
occasionally some pro ninjas like show up. Like in terms of the gym where I was, Nova Ninja,
Mhm.
like usually you'd see like the same group of people and like not a ton of pros. Probably like the only pros who really showed up were like Max Feinberg was probably the
Mhm.
biggest one because he actually used to train there, I think.
Yeah, but like,
Now I carry on the lineage of 5'9" teens with glasses competing at Nova Ninja, but I
so
have approximately 1% of his skill.
yeah, that guy's a beast. But I mean, we're in the Midwest where I'm from. Like, there's a lot of pro ninjas, so you go to some competitions and it's just stacked. But when you go to the show, it's going to be stacked. But there's also going to be like, especially in qualifying, there's going to be 80% of the people that just kind of like have no idea what's going on. Like, I had a conversation with some other competitor when I was on the bus going to like do interviews or whatever, and they were asking me, they're like, "So what do you do for a job?" I'm like, "I'm a full time ninja coach." They're like, "Wait, that's a thing? You have a serious advantage. You're probably really good." I'm like, "Yeah. Why do you think I'm here, bro? Like, like I'm here because I think I'm good at it." So some people
I,
just show up because they think they're athletic, and they probably are athletic, but that doesn't always mean they're good at ninja.
yeah, that falls into a little bit of what I was saying earlier about the casuals. Like,
Yeah.
there are some people that don't know like how really far like the ninja iceberg goes. Like,
Hmm.
there are some people that like have dedicated their lives to this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, prime examples me. I mean, I work at a ninja gym. I full time, like that's all I really do. Like I guess I do combat medic on the side, but I'm just National Guard, so I don't do that full time. But then I do Ninja Warrior full time. I train ninja. I travel and go to competitions. It's like my life is ninja. And for some people they just don't even know that's a thing.
Yeah, I feel like some of the media attention that's mostly given to American Ninja Warrior, like it most people when they think of it, oh, they just think, oh, it's an obstacle course that people run on, but it's almost like they just look at the surface level and assume that that's all that goes on, but like it goes a lot deeper than that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And it's
Oh
like you're getting to a point where like, oh, the teens who are like getting into this stuff, like as soon as they turn like 18, they're like, once they get into college, like you see some of them like specifically Max, who's like Max now lives in Colorado and is like helping with Caden Lebsack and is like helping with Ninja Intensity. So it's
yep.
like they're getting involved not just with Ninja in terms of the competition side, but they're also getting involved in terms of like the gym side, which I think is going to be like I think it's going to be super helpful in terms of gyms with like giving more options.
And yeah, that's true. And I mean, like Caden and Max, like they've done so much for the ninja community, and they're great guys. Um, they've done so much for the ninja community, like in just in terms of bucket of chalk. I mean, just think about how many people came out to that competition this October. It was such a big deal. And to give other people who don't get the call for the show to go compete on a big professional level stage, it's unreal for some of these athletes. And I think everyone deserves that stage. So I think the fact that like those guys, and there's more people who make leagues and stuff like that, I think that's really going to be the um like the base of the ninja community, because it's like you can't assume American Ninja Warrior is going to last forever. So,
I mean, just look at the TV ratings. Like, for those who don't know, like American Ninja Warrior peaked at around like 8 million viewers around like the whole Casey Catanzaro thing in seasons 5, 6, 7. But
yeah.
after
I
that,
think
like
7 was their best year.
yeah, 7 they had around like 6 million. I want to say. I might be off by a million either way,
Yeah.
but like now the ratings are like 2.5 million. I don't know what most of that has if most of that has to do with like the fact that it's like on Mondays, because it's like I don't know that that's the best day for television.
And a lot of it, like I feel like, and I don't really know if this is on topic for Ninja, but it's like in TV like is getting beat out by streaming services. So it's
Yeah,
like
but
I
like
feel
at the
like
same time, you look at American Ninja Warrior Junior, they moved to Peacock, and then that basically just like killed that entire brand.
right, but
Like Junior is gone now, so it's like it's almost like I don't know if they know like what to do. Honestly, like it feels like we're almost sort of at a crossroads in terms of like the actual show. So it's like helpful to almost have like the source stability to still have like a professional environment with like these leagues popping up with like WNL, UNAA, and then also like the independent competitions like Bucket of Chalk. And then there's also Jackson Erdos's competition coming up as well.
yeah, and I think the brightest future for Ninja is gonna be UNAA which I know sounds crazy. WNL, it's gonna be NSC, Bucket of Chalk, that those kind of competitions. Because let's say the show's gone next year, I don't
Which is
think,
a very real possibility.
yeah, like that's a possibility. I don't think any of these ninja leagues are going anywhere.
Right. Like I feel like they have a good basis of stability.
Yeah,
Like I like where ninja leagues are right now. I'm not sure that like the show's gonna last forever though. Like I think at most it probably will last a couple more years. But like I think the most concerning thing when the show ends is like the media attention that gets on it after the show ends, and like how you keep more people coming into the sport.
I mean, yeah, it'll be tough, and that's something that we'll have to figure out once that happens.
Lord only knows that we need to like make ninja a sport now and like have like a officially designated league. We need like an NBA, and like we need to get ninja certified as a sport. But it's like I feel like ninja's pretty much just like a sport already. It's just like I don't know. It's just not, it doesn't have like the actual official certifications to be called a sport. But I feel like you can just say that ninja's a sport already.
Yeah,
Like come on. Like curling is a sport and Ninja Warrior isn't.
I mean, it just
I
comes
mean, no
down
dig
to
at curling, but like I feel like Ninja Warrior should be considered just as much as curling, and should be considered sooner. I'd say that the media attention should probably make it even bigger of a reason, because it's like people know what Ninja Warrior is. It's just that they assume that it's the game show, and don't really assume it as like an actual sport.
which American Ninja Warrior in its own is a game show.
Yeah,
It's like a reality competition,
but it's
and
like the things that they're doing in itself is a sport. It's just the platform that they're doing it on is not.
yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Just like the argument that I always make with like people who tell me, "Oh, American Ninja Warrior is not a sport," and I say, "Well, you're right and you're wrong at the same time."
Yeah,
Like for the reasons that I've already stated.
yes.
Getting on to a different question. Do you think that ANW should move to a different location other than Vegas, or do you think that it's good staying where it is?
I think it's a tough question, because for the TV show side of things, I think Vegas is a great location. But for a competitor, it is terrible. I mean, when I showed up in Vegas, I was so psyched to go to the course, and it is dusty. and I know people have said this a million times. And you're like, oh my god, they're overreacting. No, they're not. It's dusty. It's crazy hot out. It's it's brutal. But for a TV show, it's cool to say, hey, welcome to our finals in Las Vegas. Like that's cool. So I
Gets
think
the TV recognition.
I think for American Ninja Warrior, they should stay in Vegas because they are more focused on building a TV show and less focused on the um, the competition side of things and stuff like that. So I would be okay with it staying in Vegas. I think it would be cool. Um, I don't know exactly how this would work because the Vegas courses are absolutely massive. It'd be cool if you could go Vegas but inside.
Yeah, it's like almost sort of like an even bigger version of like what UNA did. Because last year UNA was in Orleans Arena.
Yep. But that venue would be too small. I don't know if there's a venue big enough because I think what's fun about Vegas on the TV side of things and the competitor side of things, the courses are huge, and that's so fun, and it looks so good on TV, and that's something you can't really pull off inside.
Yeah, and there's like a cool thing of saying, "Oh, when I was in Vegas, I got to go see where they actually like had the show." So I could say like, even if I wasn't at Vegas when Vegas was happening,
Which is
I
just
could
an
say
empty
I was on the
parking lot.
specific lot where they hosted American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, it's a
Of course, like the plane tickets to Vegas are crazy expensive too, so that might be something that they have to consider. Because like it's expensive to get to Vegas, and it's almost like more expensive than anywhere else right now. I think.
yeah, I wouldn't know, but yeah, I mean, I feel like the most expensive thing is would be qualifying because they have to pay for an indoor venue, fly out 400 competitors, and then pay for 400 hotel rooms. But when
Right,
you
but
get
at the
to
same time with Vegas, do they do the same thing for Vegas and make you pay for the hotel rooms?
no, I mean in seasons 13 and 14, um, you didn't have to pay for any of that. They paid for your flights, they paid for your hotels. So that was really nice.
Yeah, because honestly, I feel like it would be like a better business decision to maybe like find some other place other than Vegas, because it's like I think it's probably around like an eighth of the people that you're taking versus qualifying, because it's not like 100 people like it is in Sasuke. It's probably more like 70 people
Yeah,
that you're taking to Vegas.
we had 69 people make it to Vegas this year.
Nice.
Yeah, lucky number. But
Woohoo!
so yeah, I think it was 69, but I wouldn't know what they do for testers, like if they fly out testers, but or if the testers have to pay for themselves. I
Um,
wouldn't know because I wasn't a
there
tester.
is a tester that I know. That would be Tyler Kurtzels. I could ask him.
Yeah. So because I know he tested out in Vegas, um, and stuff
Yeah,
like
I
that.
interviewed him a while back, and he like basically said the same thing about like the obstacles are massive and the course is like super cool.
Dude, it is terrifying. I remember being on top of the scariest obstacle I've done in my entire life is the three ring circus. And not because it's hard, but it's because it's 40 feet in the air and you're swinging and you got to catch a UFO, which, if you don't know, that's like the tippiest, sketchiest thing you can grab.
Oh
And
my
I'm like,
god, I hate UFOs, man.
you really are going to make me do this? But it was also really fun. So it was quite the adrenaline rush when I got to do that obstacle.
Insanely terrifying and insanely exhilarating at the same time.
Yeah. And,
Honestly, the best type of ninja that you could get anywhere. Like, if
and
nothing else, like, it's exhilarating is the word
oh,
I'd use to describe it. Maybe
and
not good for their wallets, but good for your mental health, I guess.
yeah, watching people fall on that was something else because it's like, ooh, like people were face planting into the water, and I'm like, I don't want that to be me. So yeah, that obstacle is something else. I hope they get rid of it.
Yeah.
So
Like, talking about face planting, like, I remember, like, there was one time when I decided, hey, it would be a good idea to belly flop on like a pool from like a diving board that's like 10 feet up. And like it hurt for the rest of the day. Now just imagine that if it's 4 times that and you're falling and like you belly flop on the ground.
yeah, it's brutal. I don't know how it's funny because in Vegas, so Vegas is just filmed basically in a freaking gravel parking lot, and they would tell us that if we walked around without closed-toed shoes, it was a safety hazard. I'm like, bro, look at your course. I mean, your course is awesome, but talk about safety hazard.
I mean, like think about like what would happen if like there's an obstacle design, like like how the tires were at UNA, where like it's like close to the gravel, and imagine if like somebody like falls off like that.
Yeah.
Like it feels like that's a safety violation waiting to happen. So it's like the obstacles are crazy. I don't know how likely it would be that somebody could get hurt on it, but it's like you kind of have to have that thought in the back of your head that like I'm 40 feet above the ground. I willingly chose to do this.
Yeah.
I willingly chose to potentially give my life away to a television show where you run around a course trying to hit a big pole with a red thing on it.
Yeah, it's something else.
Well, technically now it's just like a pole, and then they stick like a. I think the buzzer is translucent now.
I have no idea. I've never hit one.
I've never seen one.
I've seen it. I just didn't get to touch it.
Uh, Wait, did you hit any buzzers in qualifying or semis?
No, semi or qualifying, I got taken out by salmon roll, and then semifinals diving boards, and
Wait, did
then
they even show your runs? I don't remember seeing you.
they showed me in qualifying and semifinals, but they didn't show me in Vegas.
I guess
So
I
yeah,
wasn't paying attention. I usually only pay like super close attention during Vegas. That's not to
yeah,
say that I don't pay attention during qualifying and semifinals, but it's like some of the people I'm like, they're not gonna win the show.
right.
So like I'm sort of tuning in sometimes to see like the fan favorite people compete and like the people that I know,
Hmm.
because it's like so I can say to my mom and dad, "Hey, I saw that person compete on the show. Wow, I know them. I've seen them."
But
Which
yeah,
happens like 2 or 3 times a year.
I got fully featured in qualifying. Um, So they gave me like my background story, blah 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 blah, showed my full run, and then in semifinals they were like, "Well, we're or no, they were like on the course right now. We have Drew Nestor," and they're like, "Oh wow, he just now he's at the warped wall," and then yeah,
Yeah, they basically only showed like a
they showed like
third of your run.
yeah, which is fine. I understand that it's a TV show, and honestly, for me to go out there, it's not all about the TV show. I mean, it's cool watching yourself on TV, but for me, it's about getting to go out there and run the course, and less about oh I'm gonna get to watch myself later.
So it's more so about like the actual joy that you get competing versus like the fame almost.
Yeah, it's like it's just a dream come true. I mean, I just wanted to go out there and compete on the biggest stage in Ninja, and I got to do that. Whether it's on TV or not, it doesn't matter as much to me. Now they emailed me and told me they're not showing my run in Vegas, and I'll be honest, I'm like a little bit bummed out, but it was like
You
not a
still
big
got to
deal.
compete in Vegas. Like
Exactly. I still got a free trip to Vegas. I got to
that's
run
sick.
such a crazy ninja course, hang out with a ton of awesome people, and it was all for free. And the fact that they're not showing my 30-second run on TV is not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's like that almost doesn't matter so much as like the experience that you had. And it's like
Absolutely.
you still got shown in like other parts of the season.
Yeah, and I still got pretty good on airtime. I mean, I they fully featured me, and then they on the course right now to me. So that's pretty good.
I mean, that's better than Max's track record, or like somebody like Ethan Bartnicki. Like Ethan Bartnicki got fast forwarded when he made it to stage 3 and was one of like the 10 people left standing.
Yeah.
Like that's got to sting at least a little bit. Like not getting your stage 3 run shown in full. Like if it's stage 1, then yeah, that makes a little bit more sense. But it's like stage 3,
Yeah.
jeez.
I mean, and it's bound to happen. I mean, if they keep calling me, one of these days it's going to be while we were away, Drew Nestor hit the course. Like, that's going to happen. So,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, I'm totally cool with that. Like, it's not about airtime for me. It's more about running the course and getting a shot to hit the buzzer.
Yeah. I mean, on the bright side though, at least you didn't have somebody like starting a running counter about how many times you got fast forwarded.
Right now I'm at 0, so that's pretty good.
Max was at 5 before stage 3. If you want to talk about like one of the most criminal violations in American Ninja Warrior history, you like basically cut out one of like the 11 best people from that season, somebody that I know, and I was like, "Hey dad, look, it's my friend Max." And then it's like, "Oh, he got fast forwarded again." And then it's like, "Oh, he's in stage 1 now." "Oh, he got fast forwarded again." And then stage 2. "Oh, he got fast forwarded again." And then finally, stage 3, it's like, "Hey dad, they're finally showing him in full now." That's like
and
the
then he
one
was like,
TV thing that like irks me about American Ninja Warriors. Like sometimes they like fast forward one specific person, and it happened to Kaden too. Like I think Kaden got fast forwarded in semis at some point.
I mean, yeah, I'm no, in semis he didn't get fast forwarded, I don't think. No, he didn't.
I know he got fast forwarded at some point. I just can't remember if it was
Oh
this
yeah.
season or last season.
Kaden gets fast forwarded quite a bit actually. Um,
Despite the fact that he's like the only person in Ninja Warrior history to be the last man standing 2 straight seasons.
true.
Jeez, like just the fact that somebody can like win, like not just the battle between everybody else once, but the fact that they can do it twice. I mean, like that just goes to show like some people have like an insane level of ninja skill.
Oh yeah, I mean, in my opinion, Kaden is the best in the world by a mile. Um, but at the end of the day, for the TV show, they don't care as much about skill level. They don't care who the best is. They care about what's the most entertaining. And to have them watch Cade and Lebsack destroy their courses, sometimes is entertaining and sometimes it's not. So I mean,
No,
for me, it's entertaining.
according to the people who run ANW, they'd rather hear about the like grizzled war veteran who had to deal with war trauma.
Yeah, and that's just the TV side of things. And
That's like the stick that like I usually hear when people are like talking bad about Ninja. It's like the one thing that like I hear people say about American Ninja Warrior when they're critiquing it is using like the quote unquote sob stories. I don't know if ANW does that intentionally. I mean, like if they do, like
they do for sure.
I mean, like morally questionable, sure, but I choose to overlook it because I like Ninja Warrior, and it's like
Yeah.
I got into Ninja because of the television show, so like the television show is not gonna like kill my interest in it.
Oh
So it's
no,
like,
we owe that television show a lot.
yeah, we owe
So
that television show for like kickstarting the entire ninja industry and like paving the way for like multiple leagues and like giving people the opportunity to like be able to earn a wage off of off of basically based off a show where you run a course in order to hit a big metal pole that has a thing stuck on it.
yeah,
That's basically the point of American Ninja Warrior if you're talking to somebody that knows literally nothing about it. But guess what? That has provided a source of income for multiple people, including you.
yep,
And I think that that's one of the great things about the show. And it's almost like with things that you love, it's almost like you sort of put up with a little bit more. Like most casual fans would be like a little bit more irked about the sob stories, but it's like it's annoying sometimes, but like I don't really care. I'm just gonna like enjoy the show for what it is.
yeah. And the backstories are something. I mean, um, I like the backstories more of like when it has something to do with Ninja, where it's like, hey, this is my training partner and we train really hard together and blah, 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 blah. We're best friends. For me, that's a good story, which I know sounds so lame and so basic,
And
but
cliche.
but you know what? At the end of the day, it's at least about what we're looking for. Because when I watch Ninja Warrior, and when most people watch Ninja Warrior, they want to they want to watch ninja. They don't want to go there and hear some person's entire life story. And some of these people have incredible life stories that we can't take away from them. And I think we shouldn't take that away from them. But at the end of the day, it's like when we've got a limited amount of airtime, what would I rather be doing right now? And
Running the course.
I feel like a lot of people agree with me, but maybe to the casual viewer, it makes it more inspirational or more satisfying when somebody who had a hard past or whatever gets to accomplish something really big.
Yeah. I'd use the word that you used as well, which is inspiring. Which I guess is like the point of what American Ninja Warrior is trying to do, is trying to like get more people into the sport.
Yeah. I mean, I just think they want to put
And
on a
make
good
money.
show, and I think they do that.
I mean, I think that they do like a decent job with the show. I mean, like there's little things that they could be doing better. Like I used to run a blog last year in which I reviewed specific episodes of the show, which I'm probably gonna get back to doing that at some point. But one thing that I remember saying is like I'd have a separate category for the editing, and like I'd say I'm gonna cut them a little slack because it's ANW, and I know that
Mhm.
this is like how they focus, but it's like sometimes most of the time like I'm just choosing to really, like review my favorite runs or like my thoughts on the actual obstacles themselves, because it's like I love the show for what it is, and like even like the so editing or like how they select people to be on the show, even though it's like a little questionable, even though it's probably the reason why I had to lean into a little bit of speaking about some of the things that made me who I am today when I
Mhm.
submitted my application. I mean that's just how like most TV shows work. I mean
Yeah.
like yeah, kind of stinks that like the main source of attention that people think about when they think about Ninja, it's like the first question that they'll ask you is, "Have you been on the show?" Like when people think of Ninja, they don't think of the sport. They think of the show first and foremost, which is like if the show goes down and then you have like just the actual sport of Ninja, it's figuring out how to sustain that and beyond. And like I'm not sure that there is a right answer for that right now.
And right now there doesn't have to be because we still have it.
I mean, we still
Um,
have the show, so it's like we don't have to live with that scenario, but some at some point I think that we will have to
we
deal with
will.
it.
We will.
I mean, maybe not soon, but like in the future, within like probably the next 10 years.
Oh, 100%. I give it 5 at max.
Yeah, I don't think the show's lasting to season 20. Sorry for everybody. Sorry for all the 6-year-olds who are excited to compete, like when we get to season 22 of American Ninja Warrior.
I hope it happens. I really
But
do.
hey, at least now you can apply like when you get to 15. So it's like basically your road to Ninja Warrior now starts as soon as you turn 9, because then you can get on the junior show. And then once
Yeah,
you turn 15, you can just apply.
that's pretty
Like
cool.
one of the things that I didn't really like when I heard that they were lowering the age limit to 19, I was just like, well, why can't you go further? Like you could just turn it to 15 and allow like all the top like young ninjas to make their debut. Now they've done that, which is like that's super cool, and like it opens up basically a professional avenue for anybody like as soon as they get into like that range of being able to compete. And it's nice because now like the range basically starts at 9 years old.
Yeah, which is absolutely crazy.
But I mean like that's how most sports work. I
I
mean
mean, it's good, but it's crazy that you have you literally have 12-year-olds that can compete with 20-year-olds.
yeah.
Like physically, it doesn't make any sense, but
Man, some things in Ninja just don't make any sense. Like how
yeah,
the fact that like somebody can get like a 17-foot Lachey. or even like an 18-foot lache. Like last week, I saw Kaden Madeline get like an 18-foot lache, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm struggling to get a 12-foot lache. How the hell does this happen? Like,
I've maxed at 14.6 for laches.
you feel like you could get 15, or is it out of reach?
I have hands on 15. I got hands
Yeah.
on, but then I definitely stopped trying because I'm like, this is kind of ridiculous. I'm like, I don't have to do a 15.
You're not going to be the next Najee Richardson, pal. You are not going to be able to get the world record for lache.
I mean, maybe in the future, but not right now.
I mean, maybe if you like get into like biological engineering and like learn how to engineer cyborg arms that can allow you to propel yourself farther.
I think that would be cheating.
Says who? There's no ninja sanctioning body.
I think to the general community that
I mean, they could ban you from competitions, but like getting back into earlier about what I said about ninja being a sport. Like I feel like it is a sport for the most part, but like one thing that it doesn't have is like almost like a sanctioning body, because it's like I myself, like I'm really into motorsports, and like I follow like Formula One and NASCAR, and like one thing that like, I always notice is that they have like a sanctioning body that's like an overseer of the entire thing. So it's like I don't think that we need like an overseer of the entire thing, but I think that there needs to be like general like rules, which I think that there are for the most part.
For the specific leagues, there definitely are, but a lot of those leagues will differentiate from each other, which I think is okay, because if every league had the same rules, why don't we just have one big league?
Yeah. If
So
everybody had superpowers, nobody would.
yeah, so it's like I think
It's like the Incredibles line. It's like if everybody had superpowers, then nobody ends up being special. Like it ends up being like the point to where like if you make all the leagues the same, then why not have one? And I feel like ninja is almost different from other things, and like it's more of an individual thing, but it's not like other sports like golf per se, where like there's organizations specifically defined for that. I feel like you could take it down that route, but I think the coolest thing about ninja is that it's not like those sports, and it's like it's unique in its own regard.
yeah,
Because it's like almost every other sport is about athlete versus athlete, and I think that the thing that makes ninja so great is that for like specifically American Ninja Warrior, it's like you against the course. Like it's like what you said earlier about not really focusing on like who you have to beat, but just beating the course.
yeah,
Which is like the most pure aspect about ninja that you could point out.
yeah, for sure. I mean, when you get in the local leagues, it can be different, and even in qualifying and semifinals, like let's say you're sitting close to the bubble or whatever. But especially once you get to Vegas, where it's just you hit the buzzer, you move on. Don't matter who else is there.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that.
So yeah,
Yeah. Getting into my final question. Where would you consider your skill level relative to other ninjas, not just near you, but then overall in like the overall ninja hemisphere?
it's such a tough question because like so many people are good at this one thing, or they're the best at this, or what they're really good at laches, they're really good at balance, they're really good at endurance, or whatever.
Nobody's really good at balance.
I
I don't really think that there's a quandary to establish who's good at balance, because like you can just like fail balance really, really easily.
Jake Murray is good at balance.
Okay.
Jake
Okay,
Murray.
I can actually give that up.
Jake Murray is good at balance. And there are a few others, but I would consider myself like within the pro level of ninjas, I would consider myself somewhere in the middle. I don't think I'm the best, but I don't think I'm the worst. But I think the easiest way to simplify this is my my best run is better than every single top ninja's most decent run, like most average run.
Hmm.
So it's like I think I have the capability to perform with some of these guys that you see go into these competitions. Your Phil Folsom, Sam Folsoms, Tyler Smiths,
The
Jay
Danger
Wood,
Zone crew.
Josiah, all those guys that you just watch destroy competitions. Like, obviously, those guys are the best, and they're very consistent at what they do. But I would say my best runs are on the same level as them, but I don't know if they always have their best runs and they still kill it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like it's a little bit harder to gauge their true skill level in terms of like finding. It's almost like finding a baseline in a competition is super hard because like it varies and fluctuates like so much. Like in terms of like Josiah specifically, like he won bucket of chalk, but then like in the Ninja Sport Championship, like it's like he finished 10th, and
Yeah.
it's like what you said about the field being so stacked that like one week you can be like the top ninja, and then like some competitions you like won't even crack the top 40,
Yeah,
like
I mean,
barely managed to make it into the top 10.
like I've been to national finals of Ninja Warrior. I won the North Central Ninja Series last year, which that's a smaller league, but it's just a Midwestern league. But like there's still a stacked group of pros in the Midwest, and I won the entire league. I went to bucket of chalk and didn't even get stage two.
Well, I mean, like
Eh,
half of the people didn't get to stage 2, and like
Well,
that
right,
field was
but
super stacked.
but I would consider myself to be better than half of the people at bucket of chalk. But at that day, I wasn't because I failed balance.
Ah,
But but yeah, I mean, I think my best runs are just as good as the top guy's average runs. But
so
for
like
me, it has to
if
be
you
more
had to like
effective.
grade yourself as a ninja, with like A being like the best, the cream of the crop, and then F being like the guys who are barely hanging on to like being a pro, and we're like sort of like on the pro amateur, like they could be an either. Like
I
where would
get
you rank
I give
yourself?
myself a B. Like if I went to amateur divisions like for UNAA or anything like that, I really only compete in the NCNS and UNAA. Outside, I don't really do WNL. I've actually never done one. Um, I would if I went to amateur, I would destroy those people. Not to sound cocky, but it's like a lot of those guys they don't do ninja as their life.
The amateur division, I actually found like it's actually a lot tougher, like than you think. Like I remember looking at like the time gaps specifically for like some of those courses, and it's like they were not super big. Like the pros were better, but like not by a ton. And
Right.
it's
And I
like
mean,
on some of these courses, like yeah, different courses for some of them, but it's like in amateur, like it's pretty tough. Like I would consider myself a pretty good ninja. Maybe not as good as like somebody like you, but I'd say that if I had to grade myself like on the same scale as you, I'd probably say like B minus or like maybe on a B. But it's
yeah.
like I only got like 50th place at amateur. Granted, most of that was due to the fact that I ripped like on the course.
Mhm.
So I had to like past obstacle 9 to obstacle 18. I basically had like a rip that was like the size of probably like one of those I'm trying to think. It was like the size of half of the top of a Coke can. And I was
Oh
like
wow.
running half of the course with that. And then
Yeah.
like I got to the end of the course and like I only failed two things. And it was like one pretty easy thing and then the rope. So it's like with competition sometimes you can't really be aware of like your skill level. So it's
Mhm.
almost like you have to estimate sometimes.
And it's so tough because like at UNAA Worlds this summer, I got like 35th place in pro. Um, but it's like if I cleared one more obstacle, I would have been the top 10.
But then you also have to account for the fact that like the people who were around you, could they have cleared as well?
Exactly. And I mean, there's and it's so tough because I can say that, "Oh, I just needed to clear one thing and I would have done really well." But there's 20 other people that could say the same thing. So you can never really know. And every comp's like same thing at bucket of chalk. I mean, if I failed two balance obstacles, and that's all I failed. Everything else I blew through like it was nothing. Um, if I got one more balance obstacle, I would have made it to stage two, and I think I could have done fairly well on stage two, maybe get to stage three. But and then once you get to stage three at bucket of chalk, you're an elite. But I was just for all we know, I was one step away from making it there, but it may look like I was pretty far away.
Right. So it's like sometimes like just looking at like the specific stats can be like a little deceiving.
Yeah,
Like for
it's like
those who don't know, I run this database thing called the Ninja database, where basically like I just keep those stats. And one thing that I noticed when looking at them, it like sometimes it tends to like really undervalue people who like I think, wow, they're really good ninjas. But then like you just like look at the stats and you're like, oh, they didn't really place that high. So it's like I feel like stats don't really matter when it comes to ninja.
they don't matter. Um, Obviously, it's going to mean something. If you're winning every single comp you go to, you're probably better than the people you're competing against. But just because you don't win every comp you go to doesn't mean that you're bad.
Right. Like
And
you
it's
could be
not
competing against like a really stacked field.
and it's not a way to sugarcoat things. It's just so tough.
It's
Like,
just it's hard to quantify
yeah.
almost. And it's like when you see like stuff like the Ninja Center stuff that's popped up on like social media before, it's like I feel like they've got the right idea with what they're trying to go with trying to quantify something that represents skill level, but I just feel like it's so hard to quantify skill level, like specifically with Ninja, because it's like
Yeah.
you
I think
get basically one opportunity to run the course, and it's like you compete in like at max like 25 to 30 competitions a year. So it's like, how do you define that?
it's tough because you're never going to have the same results every time. Um, I mean, unless you're obviously winning every comp, because there are people in like kids division and stuff. They win every comp they go to, but in the pro division, especially, like there's not a single pro that wins everything
I mean, there's like people who are up near the front most
every time.
times, but
Yeah.
like they're not up every time and they're not winning every time.
hmm But
So it's like,
there are definitely fan favorites. I mean, you can definitely watch a competitor and understand if they're good or not.
right. Like there's most people for like you who you can tangibly say, "Oh, they're good." Like they're definitely like way above average.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I feel like that like getting like the A to F thing that I was talking about, like that's a little easier, but like quantitably ranking people's objective skill level, like not only does it tend to like vary a ton, like just even day to day, but like competition to competition, like you don't know if you're gonna show up at your best. And it's like maybe if like somebody was like to put that in ranking, like I'm trying to figure out like is there a way to like rank that, or is that just gonna be like impossible?
the only way I would consider ranking that would be ranking someone's individual skill, ranking someone's skills on. This might sound confusing, but ranking someone's skill level on different sets of skills. So like you can give them an A on laches, you can give them a C on balance, you can give them an F on lock offs, and then kind of average that out. I think
Right,
that'd be the best way
but
to
then
do
it's
it.
like you just run into a bunch of other quandaries. Like, how do you figure out how all that works? Like, it's like
I guess you'd have to come up with that.
it's like somebody's gonna have to develop like a computer program that's able to just like plug in ninja stats and like figure out intangibles and stuff. Like it's gonna have to be like the new Ninja like 2K or something.
I'd be very interested to see what my stats would be for that, because I feel like
Man, I wish that Steve Jobs could like make that or something.
I'm pretty sure that guy's dead.
Yeah, I know, but it's like if he did that instead of Apple, like think about where our sport would be, man.
That'd be cool.
Like it's like if you could have like a simulated thing that can find that, like that would be awesome. And I feel like getting into simulated things, I think a video game would actually really help in terms of like getting Ninja out there. Because like the last video game that we had for Ninja completely sucked, was horrible, and I wasted $40 on American Ninja Warrior Challenge, and I hate it.
If they make a Ninja Warrior video game, I think a good style to go for would be kind of like a WWE video game. And I definitely want a character of Drew Nestor, and he better have the best stats in the game. Just kidding.
Yeah,
But they
he's
better
gonna
have
be
a Drew Nestor
unbeatable.
character.
He's gonna be like a tier 5 ninja.
Yeah, if they don't have a character for me, I don't know if I'm buying it.
You have to get him by paying $500 worth of microtransactions. It's gonna be owned by EA.
That would be something.
Let's hope that they don't sue me and that they didn't make it this far in the podcast. I did not expect this interview to last like an entire 61 minutes.
Oh, you're good, man.
Yeah, I remember saying to you before this started, oh yeah, I'm gonna try and keep this to about like 20 to 25 minutes.
That's okay.
Yeah, I was off by about like double that amount.
You're good.
But yeah, that's all I've got, man. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no worries, dude.
This episode is sponsored by The Art of Ninjas, a graphic design and visual arts maker for ninjas all around the world. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Ninja Podcast. Next episode, we'll be giving our previews for the 40th tournament of the Japanese originator for Ninja Warrior, Sasuke. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time for more from the Ninja Podcast. Everything you'd ever need for Ninja and more.